Om Sumitriyana Apa Oshadaya Santu Durmitriya Tasmai Santu Yo Asman Dveshti Yam Chavayam Dvishmaha Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so I think no questions from last time, right?
No.
No. Okay, so you can mute yourself now. We'll start on the 6th chapter. So 6th chapter is you can say a recap of everything which has been done. The main concepts of Sankhya have been taken up here. The generally a few new ways of looking at things have been introduced, and some old logic which was already given has also been given. Uh, it is not looked upon as a repetition because the way it has been presented and the way of connecting things is a little bit different. So this is called sthanu nikhanan nyay, that when you are putting post into the ground, you hammer it in and then you shake it a little bit to see how far it is stuck, and then you hammer some more and then you shake it a little bit and hammer some more, so that shaking a little bit is called Nikhanan. And so here also basically a couple is trying to put everything properly into your mind. So that way it is a good chapter for revision. Mr. Chandan, can I unmute you? Can you mute yourself, Mr. Chandan? Okay. Okay, so we had ended the last 5th chapter with the fact na bhuta chaitanyam pratyeka drishteha sahatya apicha sahatya apicha, that it cannot be that consciousness has arisen out of matter. Okay, so the soul existence of the soul was asserted. So we continue in this chapter with that same theme. And the next sutra is there, the first sutra in the 6th chapter. Astyatma nastitva sadhana bhavat. So he says that yes.
No. I thought we should recite behind you. Sorry.
Would you like to recite? We can recite.
No. We'll leave it till you.
Okay. Yeah, we have been reciting. That's true. Chalo, let us recite. It might become a little bit difficult, Anuj, for muting, unmuting purposes. So I think
Leave it.
Yeah,
Sorry, I forgot the new rule. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's leave it.
Yeah. Okay, so asti atma nastitva sadhana bhavat. So he says that atma does exist because there is no rule for there is no way in which we can say that it does not exist. Okay, this is a new way of looking at it. Till now we had been looking at proofs that why does the atma exist. So now he brings up another way of looking at it, that if I assert just now that there is a soul, then there is no counter argument which you can give me which says that there is no soul. Okay, in today's time, of course, we would like to say that maybe you would like to say what are the contradictions you feel exist while accepting a soul. So why do you think that a soul does not exist? Go ahead and respond if you have something.
I don't think any of us, whether we are a human or any other form, any other form with some brain can say that there is not something beyond physical existence, and that there is self proof. It's very difficult to say such a thing doesn't exist, because we seem to differ from each other in many ways, and the difference brings forth that and also we have a lot of commonalities with respect to feelings. So I think that entity is that atma.
Hmm. Hmm. So
So
yes, yes.
I always was confused. I thought plants did not have,
Hmm.
So I was just, thinking that, do plants really have soul? But I think in our previous chapter when we discussed that time only I realized that plants have soul. So till such time I was wondering whether, things could have life without soul.
Things could have life without soul.
I mean, till such time I was wondering about that. But now, plants also have some soul, even though it might be a shared one or whatever it is, or multiple souls in one plant. Either way.
Do you feel convinced about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So if we look at the naysayers, then generally there is a doubt on the existence of the soul. Number one, because you can't see it. So Kapila is essentially saying, so what if you can't see it? There are many things which you don't see. Then it is weightless. So there are many things again which are weightless, like space. So that also does not disprove its existence. So you can take up various arguments, and you can negate them one by one. So there is no hard proof to even say that there is no soul. That is the issue actually why this controversy has been going on for so long, because on the one hand, the arguments which are presented by the people who assert that there is a soul is not acceptable to a set of people, and then that set of people is also not able to give a concrete proof for the non-existence of a soul. Okay.
Uttaraji, here I would like to say that I find those who are pure atheists kind of don't believe that soul existence is there. In general, I am saying, because they are so sure that God does not exist, and it begins from there. So for them, soul also does not exist. According to me, the fact that any living organism which can multiply, it could be human, it could be paramecium, amoeba, it could be plants, but as long as they multiply, they are able to multiply, they have soul in it, is my view, my purview of it.
Yeah. So actually, Kapil had proved it positively in chapter.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. Sorry, I said yes.
So in chapter 1, he had given certain proofs. If we go back, so in 104, he had said Shariradi Vyatiriktaha Puman, and subsequently he said Sanghata Pararthatvat. This is an old logic which you all might remember, that everything has been connected for a third entity. So it cannot be that matter is coming together for itself. It has come together for something else. This is seen as a very, very potent proof in the times of Kapil, though we may have some doubts there. But actually, if you think over it, you will realize that things don't come together ever for themselves. They always bring something else, brings together things for its own purpose. Okay, so or maybe for another purpose. So that was one argument which was given. Then Trigunadi Viparyayat, that the soul does not have the three gunas. That was another argument which was given, which I had generally indicated to you that I'm not very clear why it is said that the three gunas do not exist in the soul. We will come, I will cover this little bit more in the next one. I will just quickly run through some of the other ones. Adhisthana cheti. Also, there is somebody who seems to be controlling everything which the body does. Then bhokta bhavat, that it has the desire. There is a bhokta which is sitting behind, a consumer of all the actions. So the hand is bringing the food and putting it in the mouth, but the taste is being tasted by something else. And then kaivalyartham pravrittesha. Also, there is a desire to attain mukti. This I feel is the most potent argument. But then again, those people who do not feel that desire, for them, that is again something which is not acceptable. But otherwise, if you see, if you feel a little spark of wanting to be free of the body, then that is a very absurd um, desire if you think over it. Why should you ever want to be rid of the body? So therefore, this kaivalyartham pravrittesha, this is very inexplicable. Then yeah,
I think more than the desire to be rid of the body, there is a feeling of desire to be having a perfect one.
yeah, so those are all related to the body. So that maybe, I don't think we say animals have that kind of a thing, but say to be rid of disease, even other beings have that. And even they, it has been found even animals know some medicinal properties of plants and will eat those plants at a particular time when they need that as a medicine. So those are all linked to the body. So that is a natural desire, you can say. Even if there was no soul, the body may want to survive, and this is a survival instinct, you can say. So but that does not really determine the soul. But if you are a soul which is separate from the body, then you could have this desire to be free of the body. That would be an absurd desire if you were not separate from the body.
That is correct. That logic I understand correctly.
Yeah. So that is, to me, that is the most potent logic. But you may prefer some of these other logic which are there, which are given in chapter 1. This here now he has given in a different way, that I am asserting that there is a soul. You tell me from your side, what are the arguments against the existence of a soul? And he says that according to me, there is no such argument which you can place before anybody up for the existence of a soul. So he's approached it negatively. So now the next one. Dehadi vyatirikto sa vaichityat. So this soul is um, different, separate from the body. Dehadi vyatiriktaha vaichityat, because of its uniqueness, because it is very different. So this is where I wanted to tell you that those three gunas, those sattva, raja, and tama, they do not exist in the consciousness. It is seen this way because consciousness is seen as just awareness. So if you think about just purely being aware of things, then you will realize that there is no coloring on top of that awareness. Then we have a like or dislike. For example, if we are listening to music, then first there is just the awareness of the music being present. Then we attach a like or dislike to it. This like or dislike actually is arising out of our body and the sanskaras which we have as collected over time. So that is actually a bodily imposition on top of this signal which is coming. The awareness itself is pure. So that is the awareness which is being, the consciousness which is being considered as free of Sat, Raja and Tama. So therefore, and it exists separate from the body. It exists separate from the body because we see that it once at the time of death, the body stays as is, but something has left it. So then that makes us to uh, ponder over what is this which has left this body, which existed till the moment of death, which made this body animate. So there must be this consciousness which is separate from the body. That is the main proof for a soul actually. Also that how the whole body dies in one shot, and also how we have a single consciousness. The whole body has one consciousness alone. So dehadi vyatirikto aso vyachitriyat. Next one, shashti vyapadeshadapi. That also because it has been taught that or rather it is used in conjunction with shashti vibhakti. Shashti vibhakti in Sanskrit is a possessive noun, in which like Mohan's book. Okay, so here the book belongs to Mohan. That is denoted by this apostrophe S. So similarly, you have Sya in Sanskrit, Mohanasya Pustakam. So this Shashti usage for Mama Shariram, my body. So when you are using this possessive pronoun of my, then you are indicating your separateness from the body. This by itself seems like a very weak one, and the weakness of it Kapil himself tackles in the next sutra. So he says, Na Shila Putravat Dharmigrahaka Manabadhat. So he says that this is not like a Shila Putra. Shila Putra means the something which is born out of a stone. Okay, so that means a stone statue. So it is not like a stone statue where you say a statue made of stone. While you are saying made of stone or statue of stone, there is no belongingness of stone. You are actually talking of the upadan karan of stone. So the same thing, one could say, okay, I say my body, but that does not mean that I mean something different. I mean the same thing. Just like a statue made of stone is also stone only. There is nothing different from it. Similarly, when I say my body, I am not only talking of the body as something separate, but same as me. So he says, dharmi grahaka mana badhat. So he says it is not like the stone statue because the dharmi, the one which has that property, being able to perceive that dharmi, for that there is no praman, there is no separate way in which you can come to know that there is something different. What he means is that in the Shila Putra, in the statue made of stone, you don't see a separate entity. The whole thing is made of stone. Yes, it is carved out of stone and it is stone. But in the body, we can see that there is this body which exists as is, but there is something else which exists, which is the dharmi. All these are dharmas of that dharmi. Okay, that avyava and avayavi concept you may recall that these avyavas, for example, these fingers and thumb are the avayavas of the avayavi, which is the hand. Similarly, we can say that this whole structure is just is made up of avayavas, and there is an avayavi which is sitting at the back, and we can perceive that. We understand that this whole conglomeration, this body, is just one statue, but there is something else which is there inside it. So that is how this Shashti Vyapadesha, Shashti Upadesha indicates that there is a separate entity which is there. Is that clear? Everybody's fine, right? Gauri,
Yeah.
you have a question? Or anybody? Okay.
The Shilaputra, I was just looking up. Wow, this is a strange usage. Sometimes they use that name for a grindstone.
Okay, maybe.
So
But
funny
actually,
usage.
then that would not indicate that Shashti connection.
Yeah.
So maybe that grindstone, maybe it is a grindstone.
Like
So,
body is equated to a grindstone, maybe
grindstone,
like that.
yeah. Correct. So this grindstone, which is made of the stone. Yes, I think I probably even in the book it is mentioned that way. But it also
Vis-a-vis Shivalinga, I think it's like vis-a-vis Shivalinga, Shilaputra is like a grindstone, has the same shape.
no, Shiva Linga is different. A linga is a mark.
Because
A sign.
we always assign Atmatva to Shivalinga, no? That very Shiva's Atma is embedded there. Whereas a Shilaputra, which for all purposes is having identical shape, has no such thing. That kind of thing he may be trying to bring. I don't know.
Anyway,
Uttara.
the idea is this. Yes.
Uttara.
Yeah.
See, isn't this like something like a circular thing we are going around? We know it's there, so it's there, kind of thing. No?
So you are having this doubt because the arguments seem a little bit weak. So to that extent, I agree that these are a little weaker arguments. He has given you his main arguments earlier. Now, if those do not convince you and you still have a doubt, then he is giving you certain other arguments, you can say, which if it gels with you, it gels with you. If it doesn't gel with you, it's okay. These are slightly weaker, I agree. So that is why we feel that you are presuming something and then going ahead with it. But these are separate arguments. He is saying that you would not use my body. You would say me only when you refer to the body. But the fact that you refer my eye, my ear, my nose, that is because it is not you, but something else. And also the fact that you do not have a raga dvesha to begin with. That is again a concept which to a lay person it becomes very difficult because consciousness itself includes raga dvesha, right? So you don't have a stone which has raga dvesha. So one of the in fact the linga of atma is given as that which has raga dvesha. That means in the sharira, when you enter a sharira, then you do acquire raga dvesha. So it's very difficult to separate the two. So to that extent, that is correct. But you if you like the argument, then it's okay. Otherwise, just leave it. Okay. So we now move on to our great topic of mukti. So he again takes us into the Swarupa Mukti. So one of the main concepts which he wanted to establish through Sankhya was the existence of the soul. Okay, so he has kind of recapped, you can say, that bit. Now he goes to Mukti. So he says, Atyanta Dukha Nivritya Kritakrityata. So he says that you attain krita krityata. That means having achieved your ultimate goal, that you achieve by the destruction or release from all sorrow. This, of course, is also a concept which we have already come across many times, that mukti consists of the extreme destruction of all dukkhas. Okay, this he starts as a kind of a preface. He's just starting off on this when he starts this new subject. Then he says, yatha dukhat kleshah purushasya na tatha sukhad abhilashah. So this part is more something which we are all very, very familiar with. He says that purushasya, that is for the soul, the way the sorrows afflict us, sukhas don't give us contentment to the same level. Somehow, sorrow affects us much more than happiness. When we feel happy, even when we are exuberant or ecstatic, there is a level to which we feel, but we can go into depression. See, you know that there is a disease called depression, where you are really, really sunk in a deep pit. You feel as if you are in a well with only darkness surrounding you. There is no corresponding disease for being too happy. That itself is an indication that the level to which we go in happiness is not the same as the level to which we go in sadness. Sadness can really, really bring us down, while happiness is always just that much. You're never like completely at the um, uh, just happy 100%, and very, very so much so that you forget all your sorrows. Somehow that state we reach with difficulty. So he proves that statement by saying kutrapi kopi sukhiti. He says that rarely do you find a person, kutrapi, somewhere, that means basically nowhere, do you find kopi, someone, that means essentially pointing to no one, who is sukhi. That rarely do you find a person somewhere who is happy at the exclusion of all sorrow. That I think yes.
Sukhi is the first vibhakti, is it?
Sukhi, yeah.
First
Sukhi
vibhakti.
iti. Sukhi iti.
And krityata, what does it mean?
Krita krityata. So krita, which the action which you did, you attained its what you wanted to do with it. So the object is Kritarthana, exactly.
Okay.
So you have achieved the goal of your kritya. Whatever you set out to do, you achieved it. That is called krita krityata. Okay. So kutrapi kopi sukhi iti. I think all of us will generally agree that nobody is fully happy. But you will find people who are fully sad. That is the sad part. You will find people who are completely depressed. They cannot see a silver lining anywhere. So while most people are somewhere in between, though generally our pot of sorrow is more full than the pot of happiness. I think generally everybody will agree to that.
There is no disagreement. Is it because of our greed? I don't know.
No, that is the nature of this body, that we feel sorrow much more than happiness.
Yeah, sorrow seems permanent and happiness seems fleeting always.
Yes, exactly right. That is what he is trying to say here. So he also he further explains it by saying tadapi dukha shabalamiti dukha pakshe nikshipante vivechakaha. He says even the sukha which is there, that is has traces of dukha in it. So that is why the people who are intelligent, they put everything on the side of sorrow only. Okay, there's never a situation in which we are absolutely devoid of sorrow. In our greatest joy, there is little sorrow somewhere tucked inside. So, for as far as a Viveki is concerned, everything is sorrow itself. How can he call it sukha when there is dukkha either present in it or there is a future dukkha which is present? Okay, you can yourself think of examples of this. When a child is born, the parents are so happy, but already the fear of how will the child grow up, how will it develop, what does it future hold for the child, will I be able to take care of the child properly, all those things already surround us and bring some fear into our heart. But when sorrow comes, there is no corresponding silver lining which always comes with it. So that is the difference between the two. Okay, so one more we'll take up. Sukhala bhava the purusharthatvam miti chenna dvavityat. So he says that if we do not get sukha labha abhavat apurusharthatvam iti chenna dvavidyat. So if you say that if I cannot get sukha and there is always dukkha only, always dukkha will be there, then why should I even try for sukha labha? It is apurusharthatvam. There is no point in any effort to achieve something which is impossible. So why should I try? So then Kapil says, Chet, na, no, it is not like that. There are two types of sukhas which are there. While we experience more of dukkha and less of sukha, still there is something called sukha too. It is true. So he first takes up the sukha of mukti. So you can guess there are two sukhas. One is your bhautik sukha, worldly happiness, and the other is that of being alone, away from matter. So he takes up this second one first. He says nirgunatva matmano sangyatva shute.
Uttaraji,
Yes.
we will reconnect. I think it
Is
will
it
break
time
in the
for-
middle otherwise.
Okay.
Few
Fine.
seconds only remain.
We will end then. Yeah.
Okay.
The same thing, ID and all, please use for the next meeting.